Bases drop for another round of soccer down here. I might have gotten it correct this time when it came to punching all the buttons, because I don't know if you saw the flash frame of my face before I put up the banner at 9:05 to make sure that everybody was up, around, and at 'em. John here, Jarrett there. And traditionally, as things go, we have our friends at Beyond Goals coming up at 9:30. We'll go through the weekend. We've got weekend Whiparound, which we will get to here in the opening segment before Jarrett leaves us at 9:30. We've got the awards nominations that have been brought out by Major League Soccer, and we'll go over those as well. Really quick opening kickoff this morning, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, and there you go. In between me and Jarrett is the QR code, so you can go ahead and grab your Kickoff Coffee as you see fit in numbers and masses that, once again, will hopefully fill your cupboard. Kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can follow along on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And opening kickoff this morning has to do with a coaching vacancy in the Premier League. And I know it shocks you that I would be having a Premier League discussion to start things off this morning. But Wolves, Nuno. Really? You sure about that? Allegedly, they're having conversations about a shock return of Nuno Espirito Santo to Wolves. And for those of you that have problems napping, if that comes to pass, then you go to the Molyneux, get a ticket, and you probably wouldn't have a problem anymore. But saw that come across, and I was like, seriously, people? Okay, fair enough. Knock yourself out. So, yeah, that's your opening kickoff. Why? That's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Seriously, yo, Nuno, come on, man. Use the code soccer down here 15, get 15% off of your purchase from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, and they in turn take 10% and invest it into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Follow on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. QR code right there in the middle of the screen for about another 2 seconds. All right. That's the opening kickoff. All right. So, Jarrett, morning.
Morning.
Nuno and Wolves.
Okay. I too can string together random words.
Yes, exactly. All right. So we've got weekend whip around, and I figure what we would do is go through. Oh, and we didn't get your thoughts yesterday on, since you weren't here yesterday, I wanted to get your thoughts as a part of all of this. The back and forth and back of NYCFC going from Red Bull Arena, and then 5 days before a match sitting there going, nah, we're going to Citi Field, because we talked about that a lot yesterday in the Power Hour, and folks were morning airborne DJ. Folks were fairly fired up about that whole thing.
I am of the opinion that it is Bush League that the league let them do this.
Yeah.
You already have the game set. Quit trying to move the damn game for whatever reason. Like, it's set. Just let the game happen where you had it scheduled. I feel like you're overcomplicating things, but you know what, man? MLS going to MLS sometimes. Don't overcomplicate matters. Just, I don't know, man. Just play the damn game.
Mm-hmm. Basically,
and
yes.
You didn't need to move it. There was no need to move that game.
Mm-hmm.
And they just went and did it anyway, because why the hell not? Once you had it set at Red Bull Arena, like it just feels like I don't know what you would call it, man. Dumb to move it from there. So whatever. MLS is not nearly as bad as, say Major League Baseball about getting out of their own way. Major League Baseball has set the standard for which people operate in the concept of, physically incapable of getting out of their own way.
Right.
But MLS occasionally does like to throw a bone into their own stew and wonder why a bone is in the stew.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. That was the big thing yesterday.
No reason for them to move it. And yeah, credit to Miami for dunking on everybody about it.
Yeah.
I don't blame you, because you don't know where to send people. Now I get it's New York or New Jersey, but man, y'all had it set. just because the Mets choked in the playoffs doesn't mean you just should magically move it to Citi Field. I know you want to keep it in the city, but once you've got it set, like scheduling events is difficult. Rescheduling events is difficult. Y'all know how much work goes into putting on an event like that?
Apparently not. Or NYC.
It's a lot of work.
Yes.
It's a lot of coordination of people. That's not easy.
No.
You want to get, by the way, you really want a group of pissed off people? Get the people who are supposed to work or run the event and tell them, like, hey, we're going to move everything last minute. No biggie, right? Yes, biggie.
Yeah.
Yes, biggie.
I sincerely.
That's where I sit with it.
Yeah. No, I sincerely hope that everybody attached to Red Bull Arena invoiced City Football Group, and it's like, here, you're still paying for it. You know, just because you bailed doesn't mean you don't get away with it. So here's your bill, and make sure that you pay everybody. I mean, and this was one of the things. I mean, we talked about. There was one of the things that we talked about yesterday was the ticketing aspect of it. Because if you're a fan of either team, and you had already gotten one of those tickets at RBA, Red Bull Arena, and where does your ticket translate to Citi Field?
Great question. How does the seating arrangement change?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever.
Well, yeah, and what the important thing that you mentioned that I'd forgotten about yesterday. I mean, everybody that basically works on a day rate, one of the folks that sits there and goes, "Oh, I picked up a day at Red Bull Arena."
Yes.
And then,
and it's people behind the scenes. It's ushers. It's it's stadium staff. Like, look, a lot of people who do that stuff. It's those kind of jobs are not like 5 days a week, 40 hours a week kind of jobs. Like, you pick up one of those shifts, a lot of times you're clearing the schedule for something else. So you'll stay pissed off for a while if you clear the schedule for that shift and then they move the shift. Now, if they're just telling you, okay, you're still going to be doing it, you're just going to do it at Citi Field, different conversation. But yeah, if it's stadium, a lot of that is stadium specific.
yep. So yeah,
it's just it don't why overcome. You don't have to play life on hard mode.
mm-hmm.
Life doesn't have to be Dark Souls.
No,
You can play it on easy mode. I swear, y'all can.
yes,
Anyway, we got games this week.
we do. We have 4. I'm going to save the Monday games for the Monday whip around.
That's fine with me.
Because there's games on Monday. It'll give us something to talk about on Monday. So we got 4 games to go through here with weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming, and hopefully maybe very, very soon. We'll get into the juice boxes for all of these games as well. And what we'll do is we'll start things off tomorrow. It's noon and 3. Red Bulls hosting FC Cincinnati, LAG hosting Nashville. Red Bulls right now in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, are a -101. Your draw and FC Cincinnati are basically the same thing at a +260. Our friends at BetMGM have the singular number of Cincinnati at a +240. Regular television, regular pregame, RBA 1208. It's on Unimas, Tuda NA, and Twitter, and all those other kinds of things. Local TV for both. Fun facts. Red Bulls and Cincinnati drew both meetings 1-1 this season. 3 of the last 5 matches between the sides have ended in draws, with each team winning 1-0 against the other on the road. In fact, so we have a fun fact inside of a fun fact. The last home win in the series came in March 2020, a 3-2 Red Bulls win in Harrison. Neither team has scored more than 1 goal in any of the last 5 meetings, with a total of 6 goals being scored over those games. Both meetings this season opened with a goal by Cincinnati, only to see the Red Bulls equalize within 10 minutes, with all 4 goals coming in the opening 30. Red Bulls are in the playoffs for the 13th straight year, equaling an MLS record. New York has failed to make it out of the first round in any of the last 3 seasons, however, losing by a 1-goal margin each time, including twice in extra time. All 3 of those matches on the road, as New York will host a playoff match for the first time since 2018. Red Bulls have won 6 of the last 9 postseason matches at Red Bull Arena. FC Cincinnati making their first playoff appearance, setting club records for points, wins, goals, goal difference. They collected more points this season than it did in its first 2 full MLS seasons, 44, excluding 2020 combined. Cincy lost just 2 of their final 20 games this season. They did draw 12 of them. Fewest defeats in MLS following the early June international break. Note on Lewis Morgan, led the Red Bulls with 14 goals, nearly 3 times more than any other player. Klimala and Luquinhas each had 5. Only Red Bulls player with more goals in a season over the last 10 years was BWP. Brenner scored his 3rd hat trick of the season on decision day against DC. 6th player in MLS history to score 3 hat tricks in a single season. Took him to 18. Brandon Vasquez scored 18. First pair of teammates to score 18 goals in a single season in MLS history. What say you, Jarrett Smith?
So this one, I'm dreading what comes after this, because one of two things is going to happen here. One of whoever wins this game is going to play Philadelphia. Philadelphia, New York last year in the playoffs set the sport back 45 years. Everyone likes to love on, those games until they happen, and then there's kind of this ironic laughter of, oh my God, it's so bad. No, it's genuinely bad. It's genuinely damn unwatchable. Like, they just basically YOLO down the field until someone YOLOs successfully into the YOLO net.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati, last time they played Philadelphia, basically just showed up with a sledgehammer and didn't ask questions and just started swinging.
Yep.
Very successfully, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Cincinnati in this game.
Okay.
I don't feel like super confident about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Red Bull can be a tough out. And especially, Red Bull can be a tough out, but give me Cincinnati in this, because I think they have the offensive firepower, and games like this, I think, are where a guy like Lucho Acosta can really put his stamp on it.
Yeah, and so I'm going to go with Red Bulls. I think it takes a while. I think that their philosophy of the ball having cooties probably will force Cincinnati into a mistake at the back, and then you get that clinical nature that we see from Red Bulls. I don't think it's going to be a game that, if you want to take a nap, then maybe if you wait for opening kickoff, game kicks off.
No, you hate watch this. This is a hate watching environment.
Okay, all right.
For me, this is like, this is a sicko that if it's Red Bulls and Philadelphia again, we're gonna have to convene with the sickos committee about this, because that's got sickos energy. That has got, if Brian Ferentz left Iowa to coach his own team got to coach against his father, that's kind of, the analogy honestly fits better for that analogy fits better for like Red Bulls. Or for Cincinnati, since Cincinnati is kind of like Philadelphia Junior with Noonan.
Yes.
But, yeah, man, that's this feels like this. It to me, it feels like a very sickos game.
Yes, no question about it. Heading down the line, definitely that has sickos potential. Sickos needs a soccer committee, is what they need.
They do. I don't know who to talk to the sickos about that. I don't know who from the sickos committee can make that decision. That's beyond my pay grade. I know for sure.
No doubt. 3:00, the back end of the doubleheader on Saturday, LAG and Nashville from Dignity Health Sports Park. Once again, Univision 2 to NA, MLS Soccer, and it is a 3:08 kick, so you get your normal pregame show. Fun facts. Only 2 previous meetings between LAG and Nashville took place earlier this season. LA winning 1-0 on a Joveljic goal in April before Hani Mukhtar and Ricky Puig canceled each other out from the penalty spot in September. Chicharito missed an earlier penalty for the Galaxy as the match in September was one of the 3 times LA won multiple penalties this season. Tied for the most such games in a single season in MLS history. Atlanta in 18, Portland in 16. Galaxy's first home playoff game in 6 years since a conference semifinal against Colorado in 2016. Prior to this, the Galaxy had never gone more than 3 years without hosting a playoff match. LA's won 26 of their last 30 home playoff games dating back to 1999. Including winning the last 8 in Carson, dating back to the 2012 conference final. Chicago in 98, Dallas in 2010, San Jose in 2012 are the only teams to win a playoff match outright at the Galaxy. Galaxy lost just one of their final 11, winning 5, drawing 5, including winning 3 of the last 4 to earn the home playoff game. Galaxy unbeaten in their last 6 home matches, winning 3 and drawing 3 since the 3-2 loss to your Quakes, Jarrett, back in July. Longest single-season home unbeaten run since winning 6 in a row at Dignity Health Sports Park to open the 19 season. Nashville's made the playoffs in each of their first 3, advancing to the conference semis both years. First expansion.
And they'll do it again.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you think you're going Nashville at a plus 328 with LAG to minus 128?
I'm betting on Hani Mukhtar is what I'm doing.
Okay.
That's where my head is at with this. Is I'm betting on Hani Mukhtar to get the job done. I want to see if he can be that guy. Because I think that's as tricky as LA can be, and as LA can be a team that gets really hot and can cause you problems.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as that is the case, give me Hani Mukhtar being the difference. And man, Gary Smith's teams feel like they are built for the playoff world anyway. So yeah, let's just go with that and call it a day.
And so instead of El Trafico in the second round, you get Nashville and LAFC.
Well, and they played on decision day in a game that was, I mean, like go look at the XG of that game. Like it was the Joe Willis show. Like Joe Willis had, I think LA put together like something absurd, man. Like I think like over 4 XG in that game, and Joe Willis just said no.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a replay of that. Either way, like I like the second round potentials of these more, and I feel like I'm just kind of like I feel like I'm going through a really starchy appetizer just so I can get to the damn main course that's coming up for both of these games, for both of these matchups.
Sunday at 3:00, it is Austin hosting RSL. Austin is a -106 in the composite. Your draws a +275, and RSL on the road is a +260.
That sounds about right. We're going to learn something about Austin, y'all.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, well, and here's 318 kicks. So ESPN / ABC is giving you not the super elongated, but you get an elongated pregame show.
Never trust the kickoff times.
No.
Ever, never. They don't matter. They mean nothing. Everything is a lie. Don't trust kickoff times.
Yeah.
They tell you it's kicking off at 3:00.
No.
You know what? When 3:00 rolls around, you can be kicking off that grill if that's what you're doing. You know, be making sure everything's good in the oven.
Yes.
Because I promise you're not going to be going immediately.
Yes. So, you have RSL. I'm avoiding fun facts here. Pablo Mastroeni in a playoff scenario, he will drag a match into his own favor. And I think that this is where Austin gets tested, because does Austin get dragged down into this idea that Pablo Mastroeni has, or whatever he wants to look at when it comes to a particular match? He's going to sit there and say, like, I'm going to make this go 120 minutes, and you're either with me or against me, and if you're against me, do so at your own peril.
The counter to that being, though, that Austin has Sebastian Jerisi, and in these one-off, because Major League Soccer has abandoned God and no longer does 2 legs in the playoffs. First round they did 1 leg. I shouldn't give him crap about that. I'm going to give him crap next round. I'll give him hell next time. I'll let him pass on this one. Because you have a situation where it's a one-off, you like these one-offs if you have a great goalkeeper, which Buddy Austin does. Brad Stuver is a problem. Zach McMath has been a problem in a good way.
Yeah.
But I think I'm leaning Austin on that because you have an MVP candidate who can get you across the line. Coco, is RSL the most CONCACAF team in MLS?
Yes.
No, Jason's right. It's Philly.
Yeah, okay.
By far, it is Philly. But it's not just the talent, though. It's like if Philly gets up on you in like the 20th minute, the next 70 minutes of your life are going to be hell. It's going to be like when Atlanta played Columbus earlier this year in Mercedes-Benz, and they decided not to play the first minute so that Columbus could take a lead. And then Columbus, like less than 3 weeks after Caleb Porter complained about Nashville not wanting to play, decided to spend like 85 minutes. Played 85 minutes of refusing to play. Man, if Philadelphia scores in the first 20 minutes against whoever the hell they play in the second round, they're going to take that game out back, and they're going to beat it within an inch of its life, and they're going to do nothing with it. RSL can get CONCACAF. If RSL gets like a goal, like if RSL gets like a penalty in like the 30th minute of this game, they'll get CONCACAF. They don't care, man. It's the same thing if you had had Vancouver get into the playoffs. It's going to piss off a lot of people.
Your other match is at 8 o'clock.
Can I give you a really weird transfer idea?
Sure.
For RSL, because you talk about Coco talks about it. RSL has no choice but to ruin your life. And what if I told you? And this isn't saying it's going to happen. This is me just speculating. I have no information on this.
Yeah.
Anything like that. I'm just clarifying ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
What if you sent Marcelino Moreno to RSL?
Okay.
What if you gave that team a guy who at any given moment can make a absurd play that can win you a game?
There you go.
Because that would check the CONCACAF box for me personally.
Yep.
We're gonna make it ugly. Oh, surprise! We have a guy who can just win us the game willy-nilly.
There you go. 8:18 kick, Stade Saputo, Sunday night, Montreal and Orlando. I'm going CF Montreal here. I'm not even looking at the numbers, but I will say CF Montreal, soon to be Impact, probably, hopefully, maybe, is a minus 133 in the composite. Your draw is a plus 282, and Orlando City is a plus 343. Nope. I got to go with Montreal here. I really do.
Give me Montreal, and I'm in the Montreal MLS Cup bandwagon.
I am too.
Montreal to win the Cup, so naturally they might lose this game outright.
Yeah. No, I don't think they lose it outright. If they lose it, it goes 120 or it goes to PKs.
I want to know, so Orlando got their first trophy this year.
Good on you.
Has Orlando purged all of the insanity out of their system?
Doubtful.
Because we know they had the insanity in their system when Christ was there. We know they had it when O'Connor was there. Last time they got in the playoffs, or 2 years ago in the playoffs, remember it's Orlando winning one of the most hilarious shootouts you've ever seen, where Gillespie gets sent off in the shootout. They had to put a field player in net. He makes a save and they move on. And then against New England, they absolutely implode. They just have these moments still where you're watching Orlando. I'm like, I don't remember them being that insane. And they'll go insane.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's the Orlando I know. And the rest of the game, they'll be fine. And I feel like some of that disappeared with Nani, which is a damning statement in and of itself, as talented as he is. But I am very curious. Does Orlando have a little bit of crazy left in their blood?
Oh, I'm sure they do. I just because you might have had a good meal that boosted your blood sugar doesn't mean that your blood isn't the same.
Yeah.
I think that everything in your bloodstream is still the same as it always is.
We'll see.
I don't think that anything has changed.
I'm with you. I think Montreal wins this game, though.
Yep. And on that note, sir, it's time for you to tag out.
Apparently. All right, well, there'll be playoffs. We'll talk about them Monday. It'll be stupid, I'm sure.
Yeah.
God, I love this playoffs. Still wish you had 2 legs, MLS.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring back my 180 minutes. I want 180 minutes of whatever the hell this second round. I want 180 minutes of Philadelphia and Red Bulls, or Philadelphia and Cincinnati, because I think punishment should be equal for everyone involved.
There you go. By the way, someone in the green room was smiling with your comments there just a second ago. So we'll get into that coming up in just a little bit.
Beautiful.
Jarrett, we have, after our visit concludes at 10 o'clock, we've still got stuff to talk about, news of the day, MLS awards, all those kinds of things. So if your real world cooperates, then feel free to come back and join.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
We'll talk.
That's Jarrett Smith, but that means that with Jarrett disappearing on a Friday, it means one thing. It means this. Cap, what is going on a Friday?
Morning, John. Oh, life is good. How are you doing?
Try to look like I know what I'm talking about. I actually had to go back and listen to last week's segment with Greg, because he specifically wanted me to discuss topics with you, and obviously, we'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. But end of the regular season for Atlanta United, obviously disappointing across the board. So we'll start here.
Yeah.
Your takeaways from decision day and the season in general. Like I said, obviously there's a standard that the fans have, the team has, but this season there's no postseason. So what are your takeaways from 30,000 feet?
Yeah, I was at the game on Sunday. It was good to be back in the stadium. The crowd was amazing as always. Incredible support. But yeah, so disappointing, obviously, to mean nothing, as far as standings and playoffs go. Yeah, for sure. The first group that was there set the tone of expectations. The ownership set expectations as far as money being spent, facilities, transfer fees, willing to put money into the team to have success. And that hasn't always been the case in MLS. And when ownership does that, you obviously an expectation comes with that. And you want to be in the playoffs and expect to be there every year. And that's the minimum, right? Making the playoffs is the minimum. So the fact that it's 2 out of 3 years not even reaching minimum is not good, of course. And everyone in the club knows that. Everyone's aware of it. But obviously a lot of things need to change. Things need to happen. It's not acceptable, and everyone knows that. So, there's a big offseason coming up for Atlanta United. Obviously at the very top, needing a new president, and that person needs to set the tone for what's going to happen here in the near future. And, from there, it's what do you do with the number 9 position and go from there.
When it comes to the last game of the season, and I guess this is where we can kind of start to steer the mentoring conversation, there's always that chance that someone somewhere is watching. And in a game like Atlanta United had in game 34, where you're just out there for 90 minutes, you've still got to give 100% because you never know, A, what your future is, B, where your future could be, and C, what it could look like. And so it's not just something, and you get found out very quickly if you don't give 100% in those kinds of situations. Like I said, I'm not talking about anything that we saw with Atlanta United at all in that last match. I'm just saying that those last matches where there is nothing on the line are still opportunities, and that's another message that you can give to your mentees down the line.
Oh, definitely. Just because the game doesn't mean anything as far as standings doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything. Absolutely. Every opportunity to go out there and play is an opportunity to further your development. And like you said, looking at it individually and selfishly, it's an opportunity for you to showcase yourself, not only in front of your own coaching staff, but the team you're playing against, the fans, anyone that's watching the game. And so, yeah, it's an opportunity, and you don't want to take opportunities for granted. You never know. You never know when it's going to end, right? It could be the last game of somebody's career out on that field, last Sunday. Hopefully not, but maybe, so that's why I think you see sometimes in all sports, right? You see these teams that have nothing to play for beat a team that's fighting for a playoff spot. And you think, how is that even possible? Well, these guys are still fighting for contracts. They're fighting for next year, whether they're going to be on that team or a different team. So there's still a lot to play for. And every single game is an opportunity for sure. And just an opportunity to have fun, right? Play the game that we all love.
How much of a reminder is that sometimes that, yes, it's your job on the professional level. Yes, you're out there, making a paycheck, making your living, but at the same time, it's about having fun. Do we lose that, do you think, sometimes when it comes to those kinds of moments? Do we lose that idea about it still being fun sometimes, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we as a society lose that too, for sure at the youth level, but even at the professional level, I think that even I was watching the Major League Baseball playoffs last night, and, it's an intense game. I was watching Seattle, Houston, and the Seattle guy hit like a liner to the outfield, and the guy made a great play. And, the player that hit the ball had rounded first, and as the other guys were running into the dugout because the inning was over, he kind of had a laugh with the shortstop on the other team. They obviously know each other from off the field stuff. And so many fans take that as this guy doesn't care, because, how can you be friendly with somebody on the other team, having a laugh in the middle of a game? And, I understand that from a fan perspective, because you think, you can't be smiling and having fun while also being at the very top of your game. But I disagree. I think anyone that's played knows that you play better when you're having fun, right? You have fun when you're confident, and that leads to better performances. So absolutely, it's important that we never lose sight of, you have to go out there and enjoy yourself first. And by doing so, it will more likely lead to success.
Well, and at the same time, you mentioned that kind of a moment in a playoff game, but if in any game that we're looking at, whether we're involved emotionally or we're participating or whatever, sometimes you just have to tip your cap to somebody and sit there. It's like, yeah, you got me that time. It's no matter what you do, sometimes there are things that are out of your control, and if someone comes up with an absolute gem of a play, you just sit there and you tip your hat and you move on, because there isn't a whole lot you could do.
Definitely. And I think we saw that the second to last game of the season, where the Revolution, I think I saw some of the guys kind of like clap Joseph for that goal that he scored, because what can you do? I mean, surely I guess someone could have been tighter to him, but outside of that, like once he's in that spot and it's just him and the ball and contact and stuff, like there's no stopping that. The goalie's not going to stop it. Nobody can make a play. Like, so you tip your cap and say, hey, shoot, man, like, bravo.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all, and at the same time, I think that having fun can lead itself into that idea of leading by action and example, because you can get so locked into an idea of, I'm here, this is my job, I have to do things a certain way, that's how I'm supposed to lead. But then you have a moment like that. I think that there's just as much value of leading by example to show the looser side of yourself and your personalities, instead of just being locked in like some drill instructor sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that some guys are scared to do that. I think that, and that's because there's still a lot of people that misinterpret it. They misinterpret smiling and being loose as not caring and not being focused. And there are guys that can't smile and have fun and be serious, right? We're not talking about like goofing around. There's a difference between goofing around and having a smile on your face because you love soccer and you're enjoying it. And for some people, there's a very fine line, or the line doesn't exist. So I think some guys are afraid to show themselves having fun because they don't want others to assume that they're not taking it seriously or trying their hardest, especially if things don't go well, right? If they don't play it particularly well, or the team's not doing well. So that goes into it a little bit as well.
But I think at the same time, you can be confident. And we got into last week with Greg, the differences between confidence and cockiness, and how it is a very, very fine line. But I think that you can be confident in your game, confident in yourself, but still have that joy about you when it comes to what you can and can't do out there, specifically on a soccer pitch.
Definitely. And the Brazilians have showed us that, right? The Brazilians typically, for a long time, have been one of the best, if not the best country as far as producing talent and national team. And they were like the first ones. I remember those Nike commercials back in the day, and they're just goofing around, having fun. I mean, Ronaldinho played with a smile on his face all the time, right? I mean, even today, Gabriel Jesus, right? People are on him about dancing after goals, right? I mean, that's having fun, right? Having fun while you're playing a game and doing it at a really high level at the same time, by the way.
When do you think there was a point where that line got crossed, where folks sit there and they lock into this notion of, you've got to be serious, it's unacceptable if you don't show seriousness? Was there a point, do you think, where we crossed that line, instead of, like you mentioned with Ronaldinho and the television ads, where you see the fun, did we cross a line somewhere and sit there and say it's unacceptable to have fun and have people, shake their index fingers at you? Or was it just something that you think evolved over time?
I think we're still trying to cross that line today into having the fun. I think the old school mentality was like, hey, you need to be serious about this. No laughing, no goofing around, like a drill sergeant type thing. Where I think the newer, younger players sometimes are able to express themselves and celebrate and have fun. And it does lead to that fine line like you and Greg talked about. But we talk about like what comes first, like having fun and confidence or playing well, right? Playing well leads you to having confidence, and having confidence leads to having fun, right? But if you don't have confidence, right, how do you develop it, right? And sometimes is like, remember to have fun, right? Go out there and have fun and enjoy yourself. And then you're looser. And when you're looser, you tend to make less mistakes or be worried about making mistakes. So that leads to you playing better, and that leads to having more confidence. And it's a circle.
So since we're talking shapes, since you went circle, I'll go curve. Greg wanted me to carry on this topic with you this week about the mental curve and the highs and lows about it. When you are discussing things with your mentees and you mentioned the mental curve, for those of us who are not there with your mentees and in your meetings, when you mean the mental curve, what are you talking about?
We're talking about the highs and lows of life, of a game. It could be a game, it could be a week, it could be a year, right? We'll take, for instance, a season, right? You've got your highs and lows of a season. Really good wins, big wins, or even individually, right? Really good games. You score a hat trick, feel really good. And then you've got your low points, of course, when you play terribly, give up goals that you shouldn't, lose a big game, right? And the idea of the mental curve is to show emotions and have emotions, because emotions are important, but we're not striving to be at the top of the mountain. Right? We are not striving for perfection. We don't want to be way on top of the mountain. There's a point in between the baseline of like, everything's just fine, and the top of the mountain that you want to live in when things are good, right? You want to celebrate things. You want to be happy. It's tough to win games, right? It takes a lot of work. It's tough to do well on tests and do well, in school, right? So you want to celebrate and be happy for yourself because you put in a lot of work, but we want to do that without getting on top of the mountain. And the reason is because usually when you're on top of the mountain, feeling invincible on cloud nine, when things go poorly, you're way more likely to hit the roller coaster all the way down to the valley and hit bottom. And that's a bad place to be, because then you've got no confidence. It's tough to get out of the valley when you're in the valley. And it's a bad state to always be going from valley to mountain to valley to mountain versus staying somewhere near that baseline, whether things are good or bad. So that's kind of the mental curve, like keeping that curve closer to the baseline, enjoying things, being disappointed. Of course, we're upset, we're sad at some moments, right? But we understand that this is momentarily. This position, we can get ourselves out of it. We will get ourselves out of it quickly. And by focusing on the next play, the next game, the next situation, the next test, whatever it is, just working harder, that type of thing, versus like being in that valley. So less of massive roller coasters and more just mini roller coasters.
So then let me ask you this, as we're continuing the analogy here, is there anything, you mentioned the highs and lows. I would imagine also there should be an understanding, an internal understanding, that it might be okay to go to the peak, take a look, maybe take a picture, enjoy the view, but understand that you've got a lot more earth underneath you if you end up heading down that other side that you're talking about, like heading into that valley. There's nothing wrong with enjoying that peak for a second, but the fact that you can't live there, I think, is probably what's just as important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And that's part of controlling emotions, right? And, not everyone is going to be amazing at controlling their emotions, right? When things go well, some people get super, super excited, and that's okay, right? To get excited. But when you're at that point, can you realize where you are emotionally, right? Realize, okay, I'm on top of the mountain right now. Like, this is awesome. I'm super excited about whatever just happened to lead me to get to where I am right now. But okay, I've enjoyed it. Now let me get back a little bit closer to the level playing field so that I can focus on the next task, the next game, the next training session, the next test, whatever it is.
How long did it take you to learn to control your emotions and hang out where you can still see the peak and still see the valley? How long did it take you to sit there and it's like, I can kind of live here in this house that's right here that I can drive to, and I've got a driveway for, the road might be a little rocky, but I enjoy the view that I have here. How long did it take you to control your emotions to get into that midsection?
I think it's always a work in progress all the time, because sometimes you're influenced by some of the people around you. And so, for me, I was always pretty emotionally level. But I think that for me, it wasn't so much of being on cloud nine that I needed to work on. It was more towards the bottom when things going poorly, right? Not being in the valley. But I even as a pro, even at Atlanta United, I played with guys that were on that roller coaster. Like, every win was, amazing, and every loss was, holy smokes, we're terrible. It's, we need to change. Things need to change, even in the game, right? Atlanta United, in our history, even when I was playing there, was never really good at coming back in a game, right? From being in a losing position. And I think some of that has got to do with some of the mentality of players of, like, the roller coaster, right? When things go bad, you give up a goal. And when I was playing for Atlanta United, it was like that. It was like, we gave up a goal, and if we didn't get that goal back quickly, guys were frustrated and upset and angry, and that doesn't help, right? That leads to decreased performance, not increased.
And, you mentioned how things can be for a successful team. The value of confidence is also a part of something here too, where you mentioned if things aren't going your way immediately, then everything's wrong. The world is crap. And, you're kind of harumphing your way through that situation. And you're having to push, I think, that much further into your confidence to turn things around, instead of just understanding that do your thing, stay in control, and things will work themselves out, especially if you are a superior individual than your opposition. And I think that it's an interesting juxtaposition where it's the value of confidence versus self-value and self-worth, and trying to fight that internal battle over 90 minutes every time out.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where some experience helps out, right? And that's why experience is important, because you learn how to deal with those moments, not only individually, how you feel inside yourself, right? But the team environment and how the team reacts, and how you guys either lift each other up or bring each other down through body language and performance right after goals given up. So yeah, that's the confidence is huge. It's the biggest thing that we talk about with kids, for sure. It's the most important aspect of any player in any sport at any level. It's more important than skills or anything, knowledge, right? You can have all that stuff. If you got no confidence, you're not going to be a good player.
When it comes to the postseason specifically, I think that a lot of this ramps up as we watch what's going on with MLS as we're chasing after MLS Cup. And one of the other aspects about all of this, I think that we get to see, and I don't think necessarily computes with those of us who watch versus those of you who play, is that the levels of being uncomfortable increase, I would say, exponentially, because of what is on the line at the end of the day. It's either you win and continue, or you don't win and you're gone, and you're figuring out what you're going to do for Thanksgiving and figure out what your Christmas presents are. The idea of being comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to a postseason, what is that like, and how are those conversations with younger people and younger players, especially in games where you're being told everything matters. This is your future at hand. The idea of comfortable about being uncomfortable, that's got to be a delicate thing.
For sure, because when you get into these games where it's a one-off, right? There's a fine line between being patient and having that sense of urgency, and because this is one game, and like you said, your season's over if it doesn't go well, and that's why experience in these moments matters a lot, and it's why teams that are in the playoffs for the first time. I would never choose a team that, like Austin this year. They've had a very good season, but I'll be shocked if they make a deep run in the playoffs, because it's very tough to do when you don't have experience as a group, right? Even us, Atlanta United, that's why making the playoffs year one was so important, because it gave us the experience that we needed going into year two. So yeah, it's challenging because you want to try and play it like any other game, because you want to bring your best performance and your confidence. And like we talked about earlier, right? You're playing your best when you're loose and you're having fun and you're enjoying it. But the higher the stakes, the tougher it is to play like that.
So then let me carry on that thought to the opposite. If you have no experience in these situations and you're in there like an Austin, from your perspective, is there any value with not having experience in a pressure situation, basically going out there and saying, yeah, we're going to do our thing, whatever happens, happens? I know that's probably a very rare thought, and you're kind of leaning toward having more and more pressure heaped upon you. But what about the notion of it being 180 degrees from that, where it's like, yeah, we've never done this. Fine, we're going to go out there. We're going to do our thing, and whatever happens, happens.
Definitely, and as you're saying that, I think that's what we're hoping for our national team, right? I mean, we've got a very, very young national team, the youngest national team in the World Cup, and these guys don't have experience at Olympics, at a World Cup, right? That's why missing these Olympics has been a disaster for U.S. soccer. Of course, they play in some big games with their club teams, but it's different when you're representing your country. It's even a bigger step up in terms of pressure. And so I think the same thing for the national team. We hope that there's a youthfulness where they don't even understand the moment, maybe, or don't care. And in those situations, I'd say it can work if things go very good from the beginning, right? If you go out there and you have a good start to the game and you get a goal, like, you can build on that momentum. It's when things go poorly in a game where you can't wait until after the game to make adjustments. You need to make adjustments right away. That you need to have that experience, and they have it in coaching staff, and I'm talking about Austin now. They've got some experienced players on the field, and that's when you lean on those experienced players even more to try and settle the team down. And get rid of the nerves, if there are any, as best you can.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Alex Ring, who is with the time that a lot of Atlanta United folks remember him at NYC, and what he's been able to do. Those kind of veteran voices in these unique situations, in these new situations, definitely can help you out. When it comes to another topic that we had with Greg last week was leveling down mental toughness, and the idea. When you look at things, are younger players today tuned in differently than, say, we were? And it goes back to the conversation that we were having. Like when we're growing up, I'll share the same story with you that I did with Greg, where I was playing Little League Baseball. I was playing first base. And so this was obviously back in like the 1790s when this happened. So I'm playing first base, and I'm, it's in between pitches, and the pitcher's doing his thing on the mound. And so I'm kind of cleaning up the area in front of first base, not really looking up. And I'm just kind of doing some housekeeping and some gardening. And the pitcher throws the ball toward first without me looking. And it goes over my head, goes down the fence, goes down the right field foul line. Guy makes his way all the way to third. My manager at the time said, and I quote, "It'll be a cold day in hell before you play first base ever again." And so I spent the remainder of that season out in right field, just kind of, once again, doing gardening and picking, 3 and 4 leaf clovers because, no one was going to hit the ball to right field in Little League. When you have those kinds of moments when you're growing up, when we were growing up, how are folks today when it comes to those kinds of messages? Do we still see folks giving those messages as adults to kids? Has that turned itself down a little bit in the volume? How are you seeing those kinds of messages today?
Yeah, it's really, really difficult. And it really comes down to individuals. I think we as a society probably have we're not on top of the kids as much as probably you were back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
I think that coaches and parents were probably a little bit harder on their kids in some aspects.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was all good. I'm not saying, hey, that was the good way and what we're doing today is the bad way. But that goes like to the participation trophy era, and the fine line between, trying to coach and instill values, but be a positive influence rather than always, putting kids down and teaching lessons that way. Because I do think that, kids these days are a little bit more fragile, and I don't mean fragile in a bad way. I think they're more in tune to their feelings, and the last thing that we want to do as coaches and as parents is kill the love, right? And that could have killed the love for you of baseball, right? It might have.
Right? Strike of 93 actually did, but
so of course the greatest thing about youth sports is teaching kids values that they can take on for life, right? It's not winning and losing games. It's not developing pro athletes. It's developing skills that will help them, throughout their entire life. And that's, I think, what's lost. And I think that can be done through positive criticism. And I think that's different from kid to kid. And that's what I talk about with leadership within teams. As a leader of Atlanta United, I could motivate one guy differently than another guy, right? There's some guys you have to have conversations with on their side. Yep. And there's other guys you can yell at right in front of the entire team. And they're going to be like, you're right. I got to get better. Right. And there's other guys that are going to be like, no, F you. And then, totally get away from you. And it's the same thing with kids and coaches and trying to walk that line and figure out what ticks each kid. But I will say that kids are resilient, man. They are. So it's been fun. It's been fun to see the differences between kids and age groups and how to help each individual.
Okay. I know that we're up against your time. Do you want to take an Atlanta United question really quickly before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Emilio, he says, regarding how Atlanta United finished, how does a player reconcile in their mind team injuries taking the team down versus them possibly thinking they failed to take advantage of an opportunity to showcase their talents with additional playing time given?
Sorry, I need to read that again because it was a lot. Okay. I see it here on the side regarding how does the player reconcile in their mind team injuries taking the team down versus them possibly. Yeah, I think that, the injuries that Atlanta United faced was, I've never seen it before.
No.
Incredible. And it was right up the spine of the team, right? You think Brad, Ozzie, and Miles, and those are the most critical positions as far as leadership, keeping a team together, and grinding through tough periods. Yeah. So absolutely, it affected the team, and I get that. On the flip side, yes, every injury is an opportunity for somebody else to maybe get their career going, to showcase themselves. We probably didn't have enough guys take advantage of that opportunity. And when we look at Atlanta United and we think, the amount of money that we've spent as a organization on the team, we should be able to overcome those things and maybe at least score goals, because the injuries were more towards the middle to back end. So I think that's where the disappointment for me comes from, is not being exciting enough up front and scoring goals, even though, yeah. And so for me, that's where it is. But absolutely, I think that, through injuries definitely comes opportunities. We wouldn't have gotten Parata.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have got him probably if Miles stays healthy all year. And I think he's a good signing. So that's a good opportunity for the club, or it's a good opportunity for him. I think he came in and did well. Right? I don't think that we can say the same for the defensive mid position. It was kind of a rotating door all year. I don't think guys took real advantage of that opportunity. So, it's definitely case to case, but those injuries, they hurt a lot. And it's not that we want to make excuses. It's the fact.
Yep. 20 injuries among a 37 player roster in this season. And some players were injured more than once. And so I think it was 17 players, 20 injuries on a 37 players that played this season for Atlanta United. You have continued, as always, to open up more doors for more conversations. When you come back and visit next time, it's about positive criticism, and we'll get into that. And obviously, making sure that where you can use the gas and where you can use the brake with specific players, and knowing how to sit there and gauge them and know what works. Time for the plug. What's going on with Beyond Goals and with you these days?
Just got back from Atlanta. Was down there for a few days, and we worked with Atlanta United Academy, 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, all the age groups there. So that was great. It was awesome. Checked in at Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta. Went to 2 different clubs there and visited with them and talked to the kids there. So it was a busy 3 days, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
And we will hopefully see you coming back here very, very soon with more stuff. And I know that we will see you coming back here as you and Greg tag out. So we'll see you here in a couple weeks. As always, MF Parkhurst on the Twitters at BG Mentoring. Thanks again, as always, Cap. Great to see you and catch up on a variety of topics every single time out. Thanks for hanging out.
Absolutely. Enjoy the playoffs, soccer and baseball.
What he said. Michael Parkhurst hanging out with us here on the Friday Free Kick and all of that stuff. So since we are at officially the halfway point of the show, and Emilio, thank you for the question. It's good to be able to have Michael and Greg answer these questions on a show by show basis on our Fridays. And so once again, since it's that time, I have to adjust the music down to a certain level so it doesn't blow us all out when it's time for me to read the promo. And now all I have to do is try to find the paperwork that has the promo in it so I can talk about things from our friends at Eliminize. And so, of course, there it is. It's there in front of me. So there it is. So here's where I held that piece of paper. So now we're going to go ahead and hit the music and discuss a lot of things. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Eliminize Service. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Our friends at Eliminize have created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. They use the Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Eliminize service kind of the environment. We like that these days. Offering a clean way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard and take that masking agent and spray it in the air, there's a reason they call it a masking agent, because it just masks the odor. It does not attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of 2 ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that is affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. Where you need to go is the website. But we have a favorite here at SDH after the .com. Eliminize.com. So after the .com goes /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, where they can help you tackle your problems. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta. Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Morning Shooter. Fade the music, and we'll get into the news of the day and get you ready for your weekend with all the viewing habits and all that stuff. And then what we'll do is we'll also go down the timeline for any comments that you guys had either during the Parky conversation or as we get ready for the playoffs, any playoff predictions, anything like that. That might not be a bad thing to do to wrap up the second hour this morning. Playoff predictions. What do you guys think is going to happen in the playoffs? And other than Shooter coming in, let's see. So Shooter is going off on Revs fans, hopes the Union lose and the Eagles, and Braves will win because they're the better team, aren't intimidated. So Shooter came in hot this morning, and that's why we love you, Shooter. So yes, Nick definitely did come in hot. So it's great to see everybody that comes in on a Friday. Major League Soccer announced the finalists for their awards that came out yesterday afternoon, and let's run through them. And if you want to give your predictions, you can. The way that it is, below finalists earn the most votes in polling among 3 voting groups: current MLS players, technical staffs, and select group of media members. So MVP finalists: Cristiano Arango, Chicho Arango for LAFC, Andre Blake, and this would be one of those situations with Blake where it would be like winning the Cy Young and the MVP. I think he's probably going to get goalkeeper of the year, considering we'll see what that category is coming up in just a sec. I don't think Blake gets the Cy Young and the MVP. Sebastian Driussi, Chicharito, and Hani Mukhtar. So it's going to be tight, but probably goes to Shooter wants Eliminize to just go and eliminize Philly on the whole. Well played. So my guess is that it goes to Mukhtar because of Golden Boot, and Blake gets goalkeeper of the year because the goalkeeper of the year finalists are Blake, Drake Callender, and Georgi Petrovic. So the goalkeeper of the year finalists lend me into thinking that it's probably going to be Blake getting goalkeeper of the year, not getting the MVP. He's put in as a finalist because of their defense, but it probably ends up going to Hani Mukhtar because of Golden Boot. Defender of the year, it'd be interesting because you have Alexander Callens, and then you have Jacob Glesnes and Kai Wagner. So do Glesnes and Wagner cancel each other out, and it goes to Callens, or does it go to, say, Kai Wagner, and Glesnes is in there just to kind of see if it would divide and conquer the voting folks? A newcomer of the year. Newcomer defined as a player who made his MLS debut in 2022. Georgi Petrovic, Cucho Hernandez, Thiago Almada. I got to go with Thiago Almada here because of what we've seen. He has busted his ass all season long, and it's been fun to watch. So I'll go with Thiago Almada. Then you go young player of the year. Defined as player age 22, born on or after January 1st, 2000. You have Almada, Brenner, Jesus Ferreira. That's another interesting one. Comeback player of the year. Honors an MLS player who has overcome injuries and or adversity in order to achieve success during the 2022 regular season. Jeremy Abobasi from San Jose, Gonzalo Higuain from Inter Miami, Kai Kamara from CF Montreal. My guess is it goes to Higuain as a tip of the hat for everything that he's done, especially getting Inter Miami into the playoffs. MLS Works Humanitarian of the Year finalists: Alejandro Bedoya, Kai Kamara, Brad Stuver. Give it to all 3. Frankly, just because if you're nominated for humanitarian works, you ought to be recognized for humanitarian work. So give it to all 3. Siggy Schmidt, Coach of the Year finalists: Chirundolo Curtin and Wilfred Nancy. I'll go Wilfred Nancy because of CF Montreal, and there was an article in The Athletic that would be your requested reading for the weekend. When it comes to everything that we know about CF Montreal, a great article on the dynamic up there at Stade Saputo and what we're seeing out of CF Montreal. So I'll go Wilfred Nancy for Coach of the Year. I would have also put Phil Neville in there for Inter Miami with everything that he's had to put up with, all of the financial constraints, more than 20 player transactions in and out, and because of the roster constraints and the spending constraints that he'll have not only this year but next. I would have had Neville as a part of that conversation, but with those 3, I'll go with Wilfred Nancy. Ref of the year: Alan Chapman, Ismail Elfath, and Armando Villarreal, probably Ismail Elfath. And AR, Ian Anderson, Chris Elliott, Corey Rockwell. Let's go with Corey Rockwell. So those are the awards for your awards finalists announced on Thursday afternoon. And so we'll see what the announcements are and who wins all the fancy awards working their way through. Once again, reminder, just with the playoffs, and although I wish I knew why they didn't reseed after the fact, and it really needs to be two-legged finals, but that's just me. LAFC got the first round bye. They will play the winner of the 4-5. Frankly, they should play the lowest seeded team, but that's just me. Dallas, Minnesota plays the winner of Austin and RSL 3-6 and 2-7. On the other side of the equation, Philly waits for the 4-5, and then you end up with the 3-6 and the 2-7 there as well. So that's your playoff bracket. And if you want to file the playoff challenge on MLSsoccer.com, feel free to do so. Goal and save of the year voting is also underway, and it is select your goal of the year, and Joseph Martinez is in there. It is Bale, Martinez, Zelarayan, Jimmy Chara, Higuain, Criscito, Velasco, Efra Alvarez, Maxi Urruti, Ersin Cara, Ferreira, Lewis Morgan, Raheem Edwards, Jordi Alcivar, Campana, and Paul Marie. So Atlanta United Twitter, you know what to do. Atlanta United fans, you know what to do. Save of the year is down to the final 16. And it is 16 different keepers, apparently. That's what it looks like. Blake, St. Clair, Willis, Coronel, Melia, Slanina, Ivacic, Fry, Pulskamp, Gillespie, Petrovic, Kalina, Pice, Calendar, Marcinkowski, and Pantemis. So that's your vote. Yes, vote every day. 4-card is correct. Vote often and vote every day. So goal of the year, once again, you can go to MLSsoccer.com and vote for your save of the year and your goal of the year. Vote for your goal of the year. Just to let everybody know, fantasy results are in. And once again, thanks to the Jason Wright Agency and everyone attached to that. Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter, the Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Thanks again for another fantastic year with the Fantasy League. And Chris Ashley ran the table. Fantasy guru Chris Ashley ran the table. Harks the Herald Angels sing 28-0. Field projections won the open league. And by the way, Chris Ashley, perfect season, 84 points, had a 3-match margin. Dunder Mifflin B had 75. Generic Name FC had 67 points. So Nuclear Option 63, and Check Yourself was number 5 at 61 points. But Chris Ashley runs the table. Congratulations to Chris Ashley in the MLS Fantasy League. Once again, Jason Wright Agency, doing great work with us, and they have been since day number 1. And none of our 4 keepers. Yeah, right. Yes, Nick, that is true. Although there were some, I think there was one or two from Rocco Rios Novo, and I think one from possibly Godinho that might have been considered, but that's just me. All right, so that is what is going on in Major League Soccer. Obviously, once again, you got playoffs this weekend. It is noon. It is 3 on Saturday. It is 3. It is 8 on Sunday. We saved talking about the Monday matches, short of giving MLS and NYC the appropriate amount of hell for allowing them to change it from Red Bull to Citi Field. And so that's a doubleheader on FS1 on Monday night. So that's what you're staring at from there. Other news of the day. The qualification segment for the FIFA Women's World Cup was laid out this morning while we were on the air in the first hour. And the qualifying groups were announced. And I know that, Nix, you are planning to possibly pair up with BAM and go catch the World Cup. So the groups are set for the draw, kicking off February 17th in New Zealand. Group A's playoff, Portugal, Cameroon, Thailand. Group B is Chile, Senegal, Haiti. Group C's playoff is Chinese Taipei, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, and Panama. So and remember, the U17s are going on as we speak, and you can catch those on FS2. But that's your playoff tournament, February 17th down in New Zealand. Nix, if you're going, you can be our special correspondent at any point when you're heading down to what's going on women's soccer. Shooter thinks you're going to lose to Iran. The U.S. is going to lose to Iran. Not looking good. Only hope is Turner pulls a Tim Howard. So Shooter bringing in his resident optimism when it comes to the men's national team now, since the regular season's over for his Revs. So once again, not a surprise. All right, let's get into News of the day. We talked about Nuno, which is just, it's like, really? Wolves, you want to do that? Knock yourself out. All right. So this weekend in the Premier League, we can look at some other things. There's some, if you're a fan of the Lions, 3 Lions, there's a problem. Chelsea head coach Graham Potter confirmed Reece James is due to see a specialist over the weekend over his knee injury. Follows the report in the 4-letter paper that James could be ruled out for between 6 to 8 weeks, putting his place at the World Cup in doubt. Quoting Graham Potter, he says he's due to see a specialist over the weekend. So until we get that information, not much else I can add, unfortunately. The rest would be just speculation from my perspective. We spoke yesterday and he felt not too bad. But until you get these things checked, you never know. There's no point in looking into the doomsday scenario yet. We just need to check and then go forward. Also on the board, reports of N'Golo Kante missing the World Cup with France due to a hamstring injury he suffered playing for Chelsea against Tottenham in August. Graham Potter says due to see a consultant at the weekend, it's a setback, so it's not good news, but at this stage, I can't give you anything more. We mentioned yesterday the notion that Thomas Tuchel would be interested in getting the job when Garrett Southgate's contract ends or when Garrett Southgate's tenure ends. And so we'll keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye on that one as well. Let's see. We can check the papers and go in everything that has been going on there. Let me look at the papers really quickly. All right. So avoiding, as we always do, the 4-letter and the 3-letter papers. Let's see what we have. The Times. Dan Ashworth says Newcastle's targets are to catch Manchester City, develop the academy, and qualify for Europe so they can attract top talent, all while adhering to FFP. I think you're going to be getting the second one and the third one before you get to the first one. And we all know about FFP. So I'll let Shooter talk about FFP and the way that Shooter and Nix can only discuss things in the timeline. They're better at discussing things, and they're better at I'm holding my tongue, especially when it comes to FFP. So we'll discuss that. Shooter, the Wolves should bring back Nuno, who's good for them, and he won't leave again. If you like 0-0 matches and losing 1-0 and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Daily Star, World Cup Chiefs are planning sober tents for boozed up fans in Qatar. And did you see where Chad Johnson almost got in trouble for showing outward emotion in Qatar? Apparently he was taken to the side, and he was given I think the police or something had to tell him that was not an acceptable practice. So we'll keep an eye on that. England fans have begged the FA to replace under fire Gareth Southgate with Thomas Tuchel after the German made it clear he'd be interested in the post. Chelsea poised to name ex-Manchester City super scout Joe Shields as their new director of recruitment. Checking on that from Ben Jacobs. There was an update on that this morning, and it looked like it was, yes, Ralph Hasenhüttl confirmed Joe Shields left Southampton for Chelsea. Quote, came in August, left in October. It's not a big loss for this club because the impact he had in the 6 weeks was not the biggest. We're not in a situation where we fall into depression. He, meaning Shields, was not the person who brought Romeo Lavia in. We would like to have people here for longer, but it's better he leaves immediately. Yikes. So Ralph Hasenhüttl is not going to he's not mincing any words. Oh, did you see Barcelona's jersey that's going to go on for the weekend? They're going to wear Drake's logo on their kit for El Clasico to celebrate him becoming the first artist to hit 50 billion streams on Spotify. And so legitimately, it looks like Barcelona was sponsored by Sheffield Wednesday. I swear to God, the picture's out there. And so it looks like, instead, because of the relationship with Spotify, they're wearing Drake's owl on the front of their jerseys. That's what happens when you pair with Spotify. Like I said, that's just me. Let's see. What else is going on? Let's check with our friends on the Twitters and see if anything else is going on. Matt Law from The Telegraph says Spurs plan to open contract talks with Antonio Conte next month and try to make sure that they can lessen the gulf between them and Manchester City. Also, on the board. Trying to see if there's anything else that is going on. Let's get back to the papers. Avoiding the three-letter. Daily Mirror, Newcastle will refuse to sell Bruno Guimaraes to Real Madrid in January, despite significant interest. I believe they're also trying to get a contract extension there. Athletic, Clear Lake Capitals, Jose Feliciano says Chelsea have the opportunity to double their revenue. We'll see about that. Gajardo. I know that, Tom Russo, you wanted to get into the Marcelo Gajardo conversation. Gajardo, let me go back to what you guys were discussing early when we were talking about Nuno and Gajardo. Surely he's going to Europe. Yeah, I would imagine that he's going to Europe. Let's see. Gajardo was not coming by any manner, way, shape, or form that I saw. And like I said, the fact that the news with Gajardo happens now, completely unrelated to anything going on with Atlanta United. So, no, he was not. From everything that I've seen, heard, read, whatever, no. Marcelo Gajardo had heard nothing. So, then and now you look at Gajardo and what he brought to the table by the time he was done at River. And by the way, he is trending on the Twitters. And you look, I'm trying to see. So 14 trophies to become their most successful coach in history. And so that is he says Sunday will be his last match at the Monumental. It has been a beautiful story. So 14 trophies for Gajardo at River. And literally, I mean, if you are a big club, and I mean big BIG, that you're looking at truly an individual that you need to grab if you're looking to make that splash. So just massive talent, and I am looking forward to seeing. When he took charge in 2014, according to Zach Lowy, club were 3 years removed from relegation, had not won an international tournament since 1997, leaves in 8 years, 2 Copa Libertadores, 1 league title, 14 trophies, all in his time. So Gajardo now is on the market after his last match this weekend. Everton defender Yerry Mina will miss Saturday's trip to Spurs after suffering a minor injury setback. Rangers defender Ben Davies is being assessed for an injury after the 7-1 loss to Liverpool. Daily Express, Chelsea co-owner Todd Bowley reportedly preparing to go all out for Jude Bellingham next summer. Also, Daily Express, Liverpool hold renewed hope of signing Kylian Mbappe after PSG's one-way forward previously held a meeting with John Henry on his private jet. Let's see. Guardian, Qatar's Emir has thanked Vladimir Putin for Russia's great support in organizing the 2022 World Cup, said he's proud of the relationship between the two countries. You have fun with that, fam. Daily Record, James Tavernier has said he's sorry to the raging Rangers fans who demanded better after another Champions League hiding. John McGinn revealed he could have been a Heart star had Robbie Nielsen followed up an initial phone call before the midfielder left St. Mirren for Hibs in 2015. Let's see, Daily Telegraph. That is rugby. That is not a soccer story. So we'll continue with that. Get into the gossip section here before we get into viewing habits and other things that are attached to today. Yeah. Sorry, Airborne. That Yerry Mina's hurt again. So. All right. So here's your gossip heading into the weekend. Let's see if there's anything different than what we've already seen. Spurs interested in signing RB Leipzig defender Josko Vardiol, the 20-year-old Croat linked with Chelsea in the summer, extended his contract with Leipzig until 2027. Chelsea expected to complete the signing of Leipzig and France forward Christopher Nkunku before the start of the World Cup. That's according to Bild. Chelsea prepared to pay Dortmund €100 million for Jude Bellingham, but the Bundesliga side want at least €120 million. That is a difference of about £17.3 million at present. Lazio president Claudio Lotito says Man U will not sign the Italian club's Serbian midfielder Sergej Milinkovic-Savic for less than £105 million, adding every month the price goes up. That's from Il Messaggero. PSG strongly denied claims they used a third party to launch a social media smear campaign against Kylian Mbappe. We talked about that one yesterday. Arsenal planning on opening new contract talks with Granit Xhaka after the World Cup, according to Football Insider. Netherlands midfielder Frankie de Jong wants to leave Barcelona. Where have we heard that before? That's from Sport in Spanish. AC Milan have offered Rafael Leao a new contract in an effort to ward off interest from Chelsea. That's from Gazzetta dello Sport. João Santos, the agent of Jorginho, has said that they both prioritize him staying at Stamford Bridge beyond the end of his contract, from our friends at Tutto Mercato Web. Atletico Madrid have no intention of selling Joao Felix in January, despite the 22-year-old's frustration at playing a bit part role in recent weeks. That's from Relevo. Gareth Southgate offering his full support to Manchester United and Harry Maguire before the World Cup in Qatar, despite the 29-year-old struggles at the club level and the national level. Let's see. In the Newcastle weighing up a potential move for Vasco da Gama's Brazilian midfielder Andre Santos, who is 18. Getting into, we talked about the times for MLS Cup. Let's get into what is viewing schedule for today. And it's going to be a busy one. Mikel Arteta said that Matt Turner showed a lot of improvement against Bodo Glimt, especially when he had to come off his line. So Arsenal got their third win in Europa League. High praise for Matt Turner from his boss. Weekend play will go on in the U.S. Open Cup. 36 matches, 18 states plus DC. 9 slots in the 2023 tourney awarded after the 4 rounds of qualifying competition. It is local qualifiers joined by the USASA National Amateur Cup champ, Bavarian United. I know. I'm right there with you, Tom. I thought that Terry Maguire was at least in his mid-30s, but he's only 29. On Saturday, you've got in the East, we'll just kind of go with teams that we've kind of heard of or know. Queensboro FC2 is playing Oyster Bay United. TCSA out of Georgia, that's the Toombs County group. They're playing South Carolina United Heat. We've had TCSA on for a 1v1, so if you want to hear more about their operation, go back into the library. FC Birmingham taking on Kalanji Pro Profile. Also, you've got Florida Premier and Gainesville City FC in a Florida matchup. Orlando FC Wolves are playing Nova FC out of USL League 2, and Virginia's playing Germantown City FC out of Maryland. Beeman United, remember them from the UPSL championships. That championship weekend, they're playing Bowling Green FC. Chicago House AC out of Nisa is playing 1927 out of Indiana. Tobacco Road, we know them from League 2. They're playing Mint Hill FC out of North Carolina. You've got Juventus Academy playing Miami Soccer Academy. International Soccer Association against Miami United, also out of League 2. So that's your date book for Saturday's action in the second round of the U.S. Open Cup. Let's get into what to watch and how you can watch it today. And you've got college soccer, ACC Network at 8. BN and BN in Espanol have Liga at 3, Turkish Super League at 1 preceding it. ESPNU has college soccer, Maryland and Wisconsin this afternoon. Germany and Chile going on right now, just underway in the U17 Women's World Cup. That's over on FS2. Friday night football, Brentford and Brighton. That's at 3 o'clock. That's on USA Network. ESPN Deportes has La Liga, Rayo Vallecano and Getafe at 3. Universo simulcast the Brazil game this morning. They're also simulcasting Brentford and Brighton. ACC Extra has men's soccer starting at 5. Out of football has French D1, the Arkema, the lower divisions, Reims and Paris FC at 12:30. ESPN Plus is obviously they have practically everything. Bundesliga B, 12:25. La Liga Santander at 2:50. Men's soccer starting at 6. Women's soccer starting at 12:05. Paramount Plus has a doubleheader in the Liga Profesional de Football. Defensa y Justicia Unión Santa Fe at 6. Arsenal Central Cordoba at 8:30. Giving you the highlights on the weekend. BN has Ligue 2 and Ligue 1 going on Saturday morning. The Turkish Super League is at 1 o'clock. FA Cup. Remember, FA Cup has been moved to ESPN2, and the FA Cup actually moved it to help the American audience watch Wrexham and Blythe Spartans. It's not being shown in England. So Wrexham, 8 a.m., ESPN2 in the FA Cup against Blythe Spartans. Very, very cool. FS2 once again showing Women's World Cup, Liga MX at 7. NBC, big NBC, showing Tottenham and Everton at 12:30. USA Network has a doubleheader. Leicester, Crystal Palace, Wolves, and Nottingham Forest. Everything else is on Peacock. ESPN Deportes has the quadruple header of La Liga starting at 8 a.m. 2DN has your playoffs. We talked about that. 2DN Unimas on the early, and Universo is simulcasting Premier League. You've got ACC Extra with men's and women's soccer Saturday night starting at 7. Auto Football has French D1, Arkema, Bordeaux, and Lyon. The Frauen Bundesliga, Serie A Femenil. ESPN3 has men's and women's soccer starting at noon on Saturday. ESPN Plus, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, FA Cup, Championship triple header, La Liga Santander, lower divisions in Spanish La Liga, last day of the regular season in USL Championship. So we'll find out what the playoff order is and who makes it in the West. We've got all of that for you on SDH and USL Championship. That's on the network, as is USL on League One. Final day of the regular season. Northern Colorado is watching everybody else play to figure out if they're in the playoffs or not. Men's soccer starts at 1. Women's soccer starts at noon. Flow FC has their college soccer starting at noon. Paramount Plus has the Brasileiro on Saturday night. Serie A triple header, 9, noon, 2:45. Peacock has Fulham, Bournemouth, Tottenham, and Everton, and that is at 12:30. So that's your Friday and your Saturday with your viewing habits. Today's juice boxes, we got into everything with Major League Soccer. And we got our standard action right now going on, Middle East, North Africa, Eastern Europe, and then we have lower divisions in Europe in and of itself. A lot of action going on right now. In Champions League in Africa, that's at 11 o'clock if you're interested in that and want to find a VPN. Also through the morning, you've got lower divisions in Europe. And as I sit here and scan, once again, CAF Champions League kicks in once again at 1 o'clock in Africa. You've got a lot of European lower divisions going on here as I continue to scan through the afternoon. 2 o'clock, you've got Premier League Cup. You've got the Eredivisie going on. CAF Champions League kicks on again at 2:30 Eastern Time. Scotland Championship, you have our friends from Arbroath. They're a dog on the road at Queen's Park. Also, let me see if I can find the Friday night football numbers. Brentford-Brighton. Brighton on the road is a plus 127. At the G-Tech, your draw is a plus 244. Brentford is a plus 223. A nice interview with Roberto De Zerbi and Sky. And he said he was going to jump at the chance when Brighton asked him for it. He could not have been more thrilled to be presented with that opportunity and what we've seen from Brighton so far. Copa Libertadores continues on the women's side. Universidad de Chile, Independiente del Valle, Alianza Lima, and Lara. That's your doubleheader at 4 o'clock. Liga Profesional, we talked about Defensa. They're a home favorite against Unión de Santa Fe. Huracan is a minus favorite as Estudiantes comes to town. Also, once again, Copa Libertadores continues at 6:15. Palmeiras and Libertad Limpeño, America de Cali, and Saturday morning. Let's see, 8 o'clock, you got LPF, you've got Saprissa and Alajuelense. That one you probably can find on a VPN someplace with our friends there in the Primera. Saprissa is a minus 108, Alajuelense is a plus 281. New Zealand, National League Women, and the National League at 10 and 11 o'clock here tonight. So that's your quick rundown of all of your juice boxes for the day. And let me run through all of what you guys wanted to talk about before we go here on a Friday. Yeah, and Coco, I think that it is Philly and then it's RSL when it comes to the most CONCACAF bunch. Yeah, and Coco, you're right. Philly has a lot of talent on their team, chooses to ruin your life. RSL has no choice but to ruin your life. It's their only method. Very well said. Yeah, RSL won that playoff game. No shots on goal. But bottom line was they won the playoff game. So that's what matters. At least to Pablo Mastroeni. Yeah, and so scanning through, and there's Shooter with his discussions with Michael Parkhurst. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that. Let me grab some water real quick. And yeah, and Emilio, I think you're right. The fine line that we were talking about, I think it does apply to how fans respond to team and player performance. Let's see. let's see. The Shooter's rant continues, and Shooter's rant continues. Man, Shooter, you came in just spouting fire this morning. Yeah, 4 cards reminder, vote every single day when it comes to goal of the year. Very, 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 very cool stuff. So Shooter thinks that the U.S. are going to lose to Iran. Not looking good. The only hope is Turner pulling a Tim Howard. Yes, 365 days of hell when it comes to his soccer fanhood. Nick says Nick's is not on the worm, not making it out of the group boat for Qatar. Shooter Wolves should bring back Nuno. Good for them, and he won't leave again. Well, he may not leave, Shooter, but I guarantee you this: if it's they'll pay him a massive contract if he wants to come back because they couldn't get Lopetegui. And here's what I think is going to happen. I think that they sign him to bring him back. They do have a low ceiling. And they'll bring him back for an 18-month deal. He'll probably want 2.5, and they might end up giving him that. And I will guarantee you that if they have a continued run of form like they're having, he won't make it. He'll make it past Christmas because of the World Cup break, but he may not make it out of the January window. That might be pretty bad. Or if they makes it out of the January window. Okay, here's a couple of scenarios. Signs a 2.5-year deal. They won't do any work in the January window. And he will not have any kind of advancement when it comes to Wolves and their standings. And so my guess is March 1st, the management there at Wolves will absolutely send him on his way. So let me check. Let me check the lifespan of managers at Wolves in the Premier League because it has been all right. So managers and head coaches. Let's go. All right. So here's what it has been with managers and head coaches. Let's go back. Now, let's just say the last decade. After Mick McCarthy left, he was there for almost 6 years. Terry Connor was there for 13. Ståle Solbakken was there for 30. Dean Saunders was there for 20. They calmed down with Kenny Jackett from 2013 to 2016. 3+ years, 150 matches. They won League One. Walter Zenga was there for 17 matches. Paul Lambert was there for 33. Then you had Nuno, who was there for one shy of 200 matches. They won the championship in 17-18. Then Nuno goes. They bring in Bruno Lage. Bruno Lage is there for 38 matches. So outside of Nuno and Kenny Jackett, dating back to 2012, 13, 30, 20, 17, 33, 38. That's what you're looking at outside of Kenny Jackett and Nuno, dating back to February of 2012. So that's the last 10 years and 8 months, short of 2 managers. None of the ones that were there for longer than 2 seasons were there for longer than 40 matches. So maybe a season if you're looking at something for Wolves. Also on the board this morning, Nick's. You think it's you're not going to be a fan, deserved of the show, and then you and Tom Russo. Once again, the Airborne DJ says if that he won't hate it if it means the 3GB is out. Yeah, and I know I was right there with you. So, and Nick's last World Cup note: if Greg starts Steffen in Game 1 in Qatar, we riot. You might want to sharpen your knives. Like I said, that's just me. Wouldn't surprise me if he started match 1 in Qatar. So that's what I think anyway. Thanks again for another fantastic week. Could not do it without you guys. And once again, thanks for being a part of the family every single time out. Enjoy your viewing habits all weekend long. For those of you that want to watch high school football and see what I look like on the sidelines at Buford tonight, 2 nationally ranked teams going at it at 7:30. GPB.org, the GPB Sports app, Buford and Mill Creek. And we'll also have Jones County and Dutchtown on the website of things. You can watch both on your favorite devices, but it'll be a big matchup tonight, 7:30. Recruiting 2022. We'll start things off at 7 o'clock. I will be in Statesboro for Yeah, that's why you can't always fire managers, even if it's deserved. Yeah. I will be in Statesboro on Saturday. It'll be the last regular season home match for South Georgia Tormenta. I wanted to take a look and see what the stadium is going to look like down there. Looking forward to seeing that. I had to get a hotel room in Vidalia, by the way, considering that James Madison is playing Georgia Southern. There were no hotel rooms to be had short of Swainsboro or Vidalia. So I'm in Vidalia, but I'll be there to watch the match. It'll be good to see what things look like there at Tormenta Stadium and see how the playoff picture is going to evolve in USL League One, because that'll be next week when we go through everything that is looking like what's going on there. So we'll keep an eye on everything going on in USL League One, USL Championship, the Premier League. Before we go, let me check your juice boxes and your rundown, see if there's anything worth staring at in the Premier League this weekend. Tottenham and Everton Spurs is the late game on Saturday. They were minus 204. Sunday, very, very busy. Chelsea favored at Aston Villa. Arsenal favored at Leeds. Manchester United, even money plus 100, hosting Newcastle. West Ham favored at Southampton. Liverpool, Manchester City is the end of your weekend on Sunday. Liverpool, big underdog at a plus 284. Manchester City's at a minus 112. But then they turn around and have another round of play in the midweek with games 18, 19, and 20. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday coming back at it in October. So fast and furious as they're trying to cram as much as humanly possible into things when it comes to the schedule. But once again, thanks to all y'all for hanging out with us here. Another week of SDH. We're going to be adding guests, working our way through. Thursdays with Nico will be live later this afternoon. So Thursdays with Nico will be on a Friday. I think it's 1 o'clock Eastern. So we'll be back with Nico Moreno in short order to get his thoughts about the playoffs. Thanks again to Michael Parkhurst and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring for hanging out with us every single week as he and Greg Garza tag out and let you know what is going on in their perspectives when it comes to being a good mentor, a good friend, and a good supporter of those who love the sport of soccer. So it's great to have Cap come on every other week. Great to have Greg come on every other week as well. And College Showcase will be posted on Saturday morning. We're also chasing other stories, other 1v1s, things like that, but we'll keep an eye on that as we go. Once again, thanks again for another fantastic week here at SDH. We'll be back at it Monday morning. Where we will be discussing the 4 playoff matches. We'll do another bit of a Monday whip around, get you ready for Monday night, and everything going on in the MLS postseason. But mucha platial, and since it is the end of the show for yet another week, that means I get to do this. See you Monday.